I will start reading my notes in a moment. I wrote a script and that kind of thing. It's more notes while watching the movie, but it went from another low effort Amityville movie to fuck you all, what's your problem? This is not that bad. Partially because, I just, watched the new Daredevil show and then forced myself through Eternals too, and I was just... And I bumped into a review of this because I do my basic research just to get some ideas what other things to maybe get some aspect I overlooked or something. And that flipped me. Literally, it's not just changed my mood or whatever. No, it flipped my entire attitude toward this thing. So, this thing was threatened to go into to migrate to another channel from Epoch Entertainment or whatever this thing is, but it stayed there, and I tell you, I got a bit easy on the Amityville progress. I found this and the next two like a month ago, so yeah, that's entirely my fault, but the gamble paid out. So I checked the IMDb page for the crew because, for signs of bad behavior, but there was no SCP here or any of the usual attendants. It turned out these people, I recognized some of them from other Amityville projects, but it's not that hard. So the crew is coming from Amityville Turkey Day. That was not a good sign. At the beginning of the movie, the first 10 minutes, it sounded like they have or had multiple Chupacabra specimens. So I said, that will be interesting. And all the posters of this installment just went from pure letters to full reveal of the creature. And that's the creature, so it's not like Amityville Poltergeist when there is no goblin in the movie. What happens during this movie, it's more about rivalry within a research group and in broader aspect the scientific community. But what the project here is I guess, I'm not 100% sure, but that's what they're telling, is to give paranormal abilities to the Chupacabra, or inject the Chupacabra with paranormal energies. Your guess is as good as mine. All this to get insight on the human evolution and healing. Regenerative properties, Wolverine power. It's not me who is making this up, so don't blame me, but this is the underlying foundation base for the movie, for this Amityville experiment project. Now, they actually went there and got some footage from the actual Amityville house, how it stands nowadays. The windows changed and all that kind of stuff. And I know that because I, got actual pictures from the Amityville house, just browsing the net. Some groups are specializing on the real case and the real location, so it's not any hard task. But of course, they are not shooting inside the house, the actual house. But to their credit, they found a location that kind of sort of, if you squint and turn your head, looks like the house, if you don't care about them showing the actual house number on the side of the house. We all know the Ocean Avenue yada yada number is the actual the house, and this had another, and they forgot or were lazy or incompetent to remove the numbers from the side of the planks of the house. Someone who has some Photoshop skills, I don't know what else are your options, and definitely not, but if you spend like $50 on it at most, someone will remove it, or if you know someone who knows someone will do it as a favor, friendly favor. That should have been done. Anyway, for the first half an hour I was going into this not works, that not works. Like, for this clip I wanted to pay attention to the cigarette.
We need to get answers, and we need to have explanations. I want that animal back on the table right now.
Wait, okay, hold on. Are you sure we should increase so quickly? I mean, there's a possibility it could go into shock.
Frankly, it's worth the risk. If we don't do this now, all of this will be for nothing. All of the costs and time that we've invested will have no usable data. I'm afraid that we're going to have to go all in on this one. Frederick, I want you to go to the lab immediately and start preparing the animal.
Okay, I'm on it.
You know what? Is Courtney out here? Courtney!
Yeah?
Have I got a job for you?
Oh, no.
I need you to get the subject prepped and on the table for another round of testing.
Really? That thing nearly took my arm off last time.
Which does not actually smoking. And spoiler, you will see the exact same prop cigarette in the hand of another character later. Exact same, not lighted. When sipping it, it's not gets lighted up. There is no smoke exhaled. It's not getting shorter. I didn't even know there are such things existing, I occasionally go into these funny thing shops. I never seen such things. Either way, where I really blame the crew is that, low-budget filmmaking has low-budget solutions for production problems. But, let's say I grew up with Italian horror movies. They were made cheap and the script is practically no sense. But there, if you had to throw cockroaches or maggots or whatever on the crew, you went to the local shop and threw a bunch of, and bought a handful of cockroaches, maggots or whatever, and threw it on the crew. Because you won't throw at them gummy bears That's really the bad filmmaking. It's not just low budget. That's bad filmmaking. Even if you are doing it with this Mark Polonia level, it's throwing a bunch of cockroaches and you should be able to happen. At the 13 minutes, the creature breaks containment. This is why you are not doing experiments in a regular house. And this is when I went to check up for reviews that will it be all this kind of nonsense, or will there be something that's not trashing the movie? Because low budget productions can deserve a favorable approach then, and they can easily have some favorable opinion because they are low budget. So try to find the funny in it. While for something like, Daredevil Born Again and that kind of stuff, what Marvel Disney committed, you don't try to laugh at it. You don't try to turn it into a party experience. And here, okay, the movie is not good, and the script is horribly incompetent, like Ed Wood level incompetent. Like, if you know the movie Plan 9 from Outer Space, there the aliens, Plan 9 was that they want to stop humanity to develop this practically nuclear weapon, nuclear bombs, by resurrecting the dead. There is no connection between the two parts. I think the actual plan was to resurrect the dead and make them march to the Capitol, and by this prove that they have the higher technology, so you should listen to them, either because force or because they have the higher ground through science and moral and all that kind of stuff. But face it, it makes no sense at all. And this is like such plan, like you made the Chupacabra to have telekinetic abilities. It does not get telekinetic abilities or any psychic abilities before you are asking. To get insight on human evolution, that's not how it works. That's not how any of it works. But it's foundation of a bad movie. But aside this aspect, and this is a funny idea, it entirely misses the point, this foundation, but there are no days and nights changing each other in the middle of the scene like at Ed Wood. There is no fumbled lines. The footage does not vary on levels. The sound level of talking and music and all that is not fluctuating like some crazy English spiel. And it even makes, it has such speed and amount of dialogue, dialogue. It's, I'm not sure if you would call it dialogue, because someone says something and someone reacts to that, but it's not really a conversation. It's mostly telling science stuff, or telling things on your coworker, that kind of shit. But it's distracting enough with its sheer volume and deliverance that you don't even notice the creature does not actually doing anything. It's like a movie from the 50s where the creature only had a rubber suit costume and it could move very slowly and could only tap your shoulder and then you died. This is practically that kind of monster, although it has actually kind of good movement. And I like the design. Sure, it's technically a rubber mask which doesn't really can do all that much, but it's flexible enough, and the camera is lighting is used well enough to make it kinda monster. You know what I'm watching, but it's not horrible. It's not just static thing, and it has a whole costume to make it look like a dog or something. Either way, it's not just a dude in a rubber costume, or a dude with a rubber mask and just straight clothes like in Blood and Honey or whatever that Winnie the Pooh movies are. It's a good monster design, and it's doing what it can. It's actually do some killing. It's not bad. Yeah, some of the 50s movies stood the test of time, and they have these kind of monsters, and we don't mind that. So, bonus point for that. The only real part where I have a complaint is Boss Lady.
Lost a very powerful and profitable asset.
You don't have to lecture me about the value of this place. I'm well aware.
Oh, do tell.
There was a young lady who's in charge of minding the asset. When it became unaccounted for, she told me that she could no longer complete her job responsibilities.
She obviously is reading cue cards, and whoever is holding the cue cards can't hold the cards where the actual conversation partner is. So she's looking like when she's talking in this way, and when the other person is talking she is looking where she's supposed to look. And that's very distracting, and she clearly did not learn her lines. While the others, they learned their lines. They are delivering naturally, so not like a student, like a school performance. Because I will not hide this from you. There is this kid, I guess he's something between 18 and 21, 24. His performance is a school performance. There is no hiding it. But he learned his lines. And he's not just, I'm telling you all this because, yes, I remember all my lines. And, that kind of delivery, like Itt van az ősz, itt van újra, szép, mint mindig én nekem, szeretem, de szeretem, édesanyám így meg úgy, és a tyúk a agyám fáján. That wooden delivery when you are telling your poems before the school for the teacher, it has a very wooden tone, and there is no real life flow of your speech. That's not in the crew. And I saw professional wrestlers, I saw stand-up comedians who do that wooden voice performance, and that's the worst. Seriously, you can make bad jokes, you can make bad delivery, but when you are amateur school lesson poem reciting, that's the worst. And the movie does not drown itself in information repetition that will you'll be right, all right. And this avoids it. It's progressing when you think about it very slowly, but it does. And here is, I think he's the director or something, the old fat guy with a stick. He has a convincing gimmick. He has hard breathing when he has to walk to have conversation with the next person who is outside the house, and then inside the house, and the upper floor, down floor. He's better than Steven Seagal, and Steven Seagal gets the big money. And that's something to appreciate, and it works out here. It's not just he's old and fat like Steven Seagal. And that's another thing, that this movie varies actually locations. There are outside shots and inside shots and shots in various rooms, and the actors even move around while talking and approaching to talk. Some of them should go into, take some actor class to not gesticulate every time and every word, to know when you should do that. But sure, it's basically fine. And I want to highlight this Lilith Stutz, not because she's amazing or whatever, but her character actually died at the very beginning. I thought she bought her role, through some crowdfunding campaign, but I found no such campaign anywhere. But I thought, well, she's kind of hot and energetic, and and as I thought she's just through here paying for the role, I thought, I looking her up. What's her shtick? I sometimes doing that. There is usually nothing to find, but she has an Instagram page where she's, I think, cosplaying or making extreme makeups. And it's quality stuff. I mean, I could never get into the Instagram stuff, because every time I try to register, I get into a login loop. But I occasionally get in there to get contact information or whatever, and her site looked interesting, so go and check her out. This is not a paid advertisement, I just think she deserves it. For the ending, they tried to do some Fulci stuff.
He opened a portal to the underworld, and hell came out!
You know, the Italian filmmaker had this, there is a supernatural twist at the end that, it's actually not turned good, and it's the monsters are still around, that kind of stuff. I didn't really work here, especially that the movie still has like 5 minutes from that point. But I thought I mentioned that they tried.
Here, look. Create this just for this type of emergency.
A gun?
It's not really a gun, it's a special weapon. I was able to synthesize some of the neutrinos from the warp bubble when I found the creature. If you fire this at it, it'll send it back to its home dimension.
And that's more than the big budget studios, the AAA studios doing nowadays.